Hey everyone, this is Josh back with Cardboard Chronicles. Today I'm speaking with Al. Al is a Kevin Garnett collector specializing in collecting jersey numbered cards, and he's got a pretty insane collection, so we'll get into that. And Al is actually from New Zealand, so I was interested to speak with an overseas collector, so we'll touch on some of those topics as well. Al, how are you doing, man?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Josh.
So why don't you just start us off and tell us about yourself and what got you into collecting and your background in the hobby.
Okay. I as you said, yeah, I live way down south, down the bottom of New Zealand, which is about as far away as you can get from basketball cards and the like, and American sports. But I'm a school teacher, married with four kids. Life's pretty busy for me. I've got two at high school now and two at primary school. We call it elementary school. You guys call it. So life's busy, and collecting cards is a nice wee hobby that keeps me sane from time to time and gives me a bit of time to myself. Um, I started collecting cards sort of by mistake. I was at university at a city not far from here, just at Teachers College there, and I went to a shoe store, would you believe, and they had a box of 93, 94 Upper Deck, which a lot of collectors who are my age, I'm about 44, so a lot of collectors my age will probably remember that set because it was had some great inserts for the first time. They had Michael Jordan's flight team, and it had some triple doubles with holographic cards. And anyway, I was a bit intrigued by this. Hadn't been watching much of the NBA. We didn't have cable TV. Oh, we did have cable TV then, but it wasn't sort of prevalent across lounges and houses that I knew. So I had to get sort of the odd recording tape to see any of the NBA. And anyway, I bought a pack for about $5, and I got this Michael Jordan Skylights card, which was a subset card. It's not an insert, but it was just an awesome looking card. Hope you can see that. It's not reflecting too bad. And I also got a Larry Johnson base card, and that had a lovely sort of teal look to it. I was more of a sort of Bad Boys Pistons fan growing up. I like Michael Jordan, but I liked sort of teams or bad boys, I guess you'd say. That sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? But the Pistons were my team, and I loved Isaiah Thomas and Rodman and those guys. And then sort of as they faded away, I sort of didn't follow the NBA, I guess, as much. But anyway, once I saw that Larry Johnson card, and I sort of got into the charisma and the feel that Hornets team had back in those days, and I kind of got hooked, I guess you could say. I went back and bought quite a few new packs. I got myself a triple-double. I think it was a Kenny Anderson sort of holographic card. Not long after that, I got the LJ from that set, and I decided to put that set together as well as the Skylights subset. So all of a sudden I was away. And not long after that in the city, a card store opened up, would you believe? And so that was just fantastic. I didn't have to walk to the other end of town to buy one or two packs, which is all I could afford. And I just had to walk to this card store. And there's a guy there who had it all set out really nicely, just like you'd have over in towns in America. And probably for about 2 or 3 years, he ran a good ship there. And so it was great fun, always going down there whenever I got some money and blowing it on cards.
So then you collected from like 93 until when, and then, what made you leave and what brought you back?
Um, I pretty, I guess you could say, sort of coming what appealed to me sort of 95, 96 was some sort of higher end stuff started coming in. So he was getting all cards like Flair and Topps Finest, and so everything that came along I had a wee nibble at just to see what obviously I could pull. But everything, he knew that I was collecting Larry Johnson. I wanted all LJ's cards, and so he had the owner there had almost like a photographic memory. So I'd pop in every a couple of times a week, and he'd have a couple of cards aside for me, that I'd get. But I really enjoyed just having a gamble, if you like, by buying 2 or 3 packs of Flair and just seeing if I could land something nice. And then the famous 90s period really started kicking in, sort of 96, 97, 97, 98, numbered cards started coming in. And by this time, I was sort of out of university. I had a job. had met my wife, my future wife, I guess you could say, and had a bit more cash on hand, and also I was the eBay community had sort of started up by then, and so I was looking for Larry Johnson cards overseas, and I was putting together a pretty decent collection. I had an LJ version of all the '90s cards you've been having on your interviews. I had a PMG red, never saw a green. I had both essential credentials from '97, '98. A lot of nice stuff. I actually had the jersey numbered essential credentials, number 2 of 33, which was the very first jersey numbered card that I got, and I didn't have any sort of inkling that it might be something that carried on in the future. I just thought, oh, number 2, that's his number. I might have a crack at that, and I got it for like $35.
Whoa.
So that was pretty cool. And so I got to sort of '97, '98, and I was really chipping away then, and had a great collection. I probably had at its peak, I think I had about 550 LJ cards, and I had a lot of good stuff. Then my wife and I got a job teaching in Brunei, just in Southeast Asia. So we went over there, had our first child, and things got a little bit more difficult in regards to buying cards. The postage system wasn't as strong as it had been from sort of a connection from New Zealand to America. And also, I'll tell you what else happened was the New Zealand dollar dropped dramatically against the US dollar. So every high-end card I was buying was costing me a lot of money. So I got a bit frustrated with that. And then I said to my wife, I'm just going to buy one more card and then I'm going to stop. And that one card was a 99 00 Flair Showcase 101. So it was a very nice card. It cost me $200 US at the time, and it was gift wrapped. I made sure I looked after the postage. It took about 30 days to get to Brunei.
Yeah.
And I was quite happy. I had that in hand, and I thought, right, it's not going to get any better than a 1 of 1. I'm going to put a bit of money, save my money for my kids now for a wee bit. So that's what I did. I had this very nice collection sitting with me, and it just remained dormant for probably about 4 years. We had a couple of years teaching over there, and then we went back to New Zealand and had another child, and I really had no sort of inkling that I'd get back into cards at all. Just one thing that's worth mentioning, back in '95, '96, collecting Larry Johnson, I liked the idea of a high school player coming into the NBA. So I was looking for something else to do with collecting, and Kevin Garnett, of course, with 5th pick in the draft in '95, '96. Skinny kid, I'm a skinny bloke, I don't know, kind of appealed to me. But it was just something different, having a high school kid there, and so I decided I'd put together just his base rookie cards. And so there were 15 of those, and over a period of probably 6 months, I got all those. I've still got them. Finest rookie, of course, is the best one. I don't have a graded one or anything like that. They're just base cards. Base rookie cards, and I've still got all those, as I said. But that's where I left it. I was still hard out collecting LJ and not KG, but it was the reason that I go by the name LJ and KG on all the forums and everything like that. Right. So then it sort of, I know I'm going on a bit, but sort of 2004, 2005, I guess I was a bit bored one day. I had a look on eBay, and I was just stunned by how far the hobby had come. There was serially numbered cards everywhere. There were 1 of 1s. I hadn't seen an exquisite card. I hadn't seen an ultimate collection card, anything like that, because I'd been out of it for so long. And so I looked online and I thought, oh, man, my LJ card's actually worth a wee bit here. Now, I was quite surprised. All the 90 stuff that I had gone up. And really, I had no inkling that would happen, of course. So anyway, I was on eBay and I looked up, cards that were for sale and stuff like that, and I came across a collector who went by the name LJ Biggest Fan, and so I thought, oh, well, I don't know whether he's the biggest fan. I might actually be the biggest fan. We'll see about that sort of thing. Of course, you could contact guys, and I contacted this guy whose name was Patrick. And he was LJ's biggest fan. It wasn't me. He had an enormous collection, and not only that, he had followed him right through from UNLV. And, of course, I realised the difference between being a collector in New Zealand and a collector in America, just, the advantages being able to go to games, and he'd seen every single game that he'd played and stuff like that. So anyway, we struck up a friendship, I guess you could say, and I had about 15 cards that he needed. I wasn't too worried about keeping the LJs. I had watched Kevin Garnett in 2003 and 4 win MVP, and of course he was in the absolute prime of his career then, and so my sort of little move of collecting his rookie cards had turned, I guess with a bit of luck, really. I could have collected Joe Smith, who was the #1 pick that year, and he sort of had a very moderate sort of career. So anyway, I sort of thought, well, you know what, I might give Patrick, I'll sort of deal with Patrick with his cards he needed, and he basically said to me, you go on eBay and find some Kevin Garnett cards that you like the look of. And we struck a deal. It probably took 6 weeks to agree on the trade. And in that time, I was basically looking on eBay going, I like the look of that card. I might get that one. And he said, yeah, okay, we'll get that one. Or I might get this one. No, that one might be a bit too much. So it was kind of fun, actually. It was like being in a candy store, choosing cards for 6 weeks. And so I ended up with, of course, LeBron had just come into the league the year before, or even at that time. And even back then, I loved, and I know on Blowout, I go on a lot about photos and how I like good photos on cards. And even back then, with LeBron's rookies all out, I said, I want to get one LeBron rookie, and that one was the only one that really had an action shot, and that was the Topps Chrome LeBron. So I said, as part of the deal, I want one of these, and I want it well-centered sort of thing. And he said, yeah, sweet. So we struck this great deal, and part of that deal was this card here, which was my first, you see that one all right, I think, my first KG jersey numbered card.
Nice.
So I think from having the LJ #2 of 33 jersey numbered card, there was just a wee sort of scratch on my memory that having that card might be a little bit special in the future. The other thing that sort of made me look at that was the fact that every single card was serially numbered now, and 5 years earlier when I stopped collecting, they were very rare. So I sort of thought to myself, this market's flooded. I might just pick up, see what happens if I pick up the odd jersey numbered card. And that got me back into it, really. I looked. I didn't just do that, though. I bought a lot of just great KG cards that had good photos, or, quite a few autograph cards that I just like the look of. Not many stickered autos, I might say. But that's how I got back into it. And, the collecting the 21 stuff wasn't a sole focus getting back into it. It was just part of what I did. And I just picked up cards I liked, really, which is, what collectors do, isn't it?
Right. So you ended up trading all those LJ cards, including the jersey numbered and the 101?
Yes, I did. Yeah, so the 101, the jersey numbered one, they all went to Patrick. The PMG red, just trying to think some of the other ones I had. I always remember I had a Topps MVP promotion card, which was only numbered to 100, and that was from just a basic Topps set, but it was very difficult to find. Basically, the 15 cards that I had that he didn't were all hard to find because he had an outstanding collection. So he still does. He's still quietly chips away collecting, shoes, game used jerseys. It's just an absolute museum what he has. Yeah.
So why don't you? We'll just go straight to like the 21 stuff. You've been hinting at it. So you focus primarily on Kevin Garnett, jersey numbered 21 out of, whatever cards. So just get specific about it. How much do you have? Do you have anything that's not 21 jersey numbered? Just go into that more detailed.
Yeah, sure. So probably in my first couple of years back collecting, as I said, I just collected stuff I like the look of.
Sure.
But while I was and I really started getting into the habit of every collector going on eBay once or twice a day just to see what showed up. I guess one thing I forgot to mention, I was collecting Larry Johnson just to sort of show how into it I got. Back before eBay was around, people might know the store Burbank Sports Cards in California. I actually rang them twice. I emailed them and they just said, look, the best thing for you to do is to ring us with a can't remember how it quite worked out, but I ended up ringing them over the phone and asking for a pile of cards that they might have. That was the way they liked to do it. So, I don't know, it was an expensive way to collect, but I was a dedicated collector, I guess you could say. And then they'd just, so I might list off like 15 or 20 cards I needed, and I'd get this package not knowing what I was going to get in it. They didn't know what they had, so it was like the same thing. It was like a wee Christmas present. Something would show up, and I'd have, oh, right, I needed that one. And so anyway, getting back to the KG situation, yeah, like I said, I collected cards I like the look of, but then I started to slowly notice more 21 cards and how they sort of appealed to me, having those cards, and I ended up sort of eating into my own collection. I would. I remember having some really nice autos. I had an exquisite enshrinements from 2004-5, which was a really nice card. Wasn't jersey numbered. And I'd end up sort of selling those cards to make money to buy 21 cards. So I sort of am quite conscious of the fact, I've got 4 children, as I said, and I'd like to keep my spending in check. And so what ended up happening was, to do that, I became more and more focused on the 21 stuff, and that actually helped. It seems a bit weird because, they tend to carry a premium, but it actually seemed to work. I'd get 25 cards a year, and that's only a couple a month. And so I slowly sort of chipped away at that, and as I said, it helped me keep my spending in check, and the numbers slowly built up. I currently have 293 of them, and I've got a couple incoming this week. It's been I've been doing it a long time. So, as I said, that first card was in 2004. We're looking at 14 years now. It gets a bit wearing at times, but I still can't sort of break the habit of just looking in the morning, looking in the evening. I saw the look on your face when you opened that package the other day with the rubies in it. That's what it's like for me when I see an auction on eBay that just has the number 21 on it, and I get a real buzz.
Right.
There's the other day, it was just a Panini clear vision, boring looking 21 of 99, and it got the pulse racing. It was awesome. And so I've had moments in that time where I've really struggled with it. I've stuck religiously to just Timberwolves cards. When KG went to the Celtics, I was ecstatic because really I wanted him to win a ring, and it was getting very frustrating for me as basically a fanboy, to be fair, that he was starting to rot away in Minnesota. He tried really, really hard there. Spree and Cassell had gotten close, and that had been a great team, but that had fallen apart. And so when he went to Boston, I was really pleased. I looked at collecting sort of number 5 jersey numbered cards there, but pretty soon I realised that there was a massive Celtics fan base, and I was going to struggle to compete financially with that.
Right.
One other great thing that happened there was I met a guy online, Dennis. He was from Lowell in Massachusetts, and he started collecting number 5 KG cards. He put together a fantastic collection, and so we sort of helped each other out, sort of spotting stuff. And I remember watching online when KG and the Celtics won that ring that year, and getting a bit dusty around the eyes. It was fantastic. Really enjoyed the fact those guys won, and the emotion sort of that was released afterwards. But I couldn't collect. Yeah, it was fantastic. I couldn't collect the number 5s when he went. And I followed KG really heavily. Then I was obviously had cable TV, and Boston were on all the time. So the efforts that the Celtics went into to win more rings and stuff, it was an awesome time to be watching, but it was a very hard time to be collecting for me because there was just no new Timberwolves cards coming out. And I remember might have been about 2010, 2011, I got 9 cards all year. That's a lot of looking on eBay for
9 cards.
Oh, it sucked. It really did. And I remember I've always been very busy on the forums. Collecting overseas, you tend to be busy. You just get your interactions with collectors online. And so there's a fantastic site in Australia called Ozcard Trader. And I remember just having a great big moan on there one day in 2010 about, I don't know whether I want to do this anymore. I think I had about 170 21 cards then. I was in the middle of nowhere, really. I wasn't really close to 200. I didn't even have a target. I was just doing it, really, looking on eBay and then, getting nothing for my effort sort of thing. And then out of the blue one day, I got this package, and I didn't know who it was from. The address on the back was sort of a bit of a scribble. It was from Australia, and I opened it up, and in it was this card there.
Dang.
I don't know whether you can see that. So KG
Yep.
Russell, number 21 or 25, sent to me out of the blue, and I was blown away, really. I couldn't believe it. And this card, I don't know what it's worth now, maybe $500. It's still perfect signatures on it, and I had to do a lot of research to find out who it came from, and it was a collector just online who goes by the name of Ersk, and I managed to. He was a Stojakovic collector, but he was a great bloke, and so I had to carry on after that. I couldn't just go, nah, I quit. That really kept me going, and it was still some tough times though. KG went to the Nets. I couldn't really stand that period of his career. He was really starting to fade, and it just didn't work out there. And of course, Panini had taken over then, and they were throwing out a few Timberwolves cards, but not many. There was still a couple of years where I maybe had 15, stuff like that. And life was pretty busy then anyway. I had 3 kids by that stage, and it was some sort of difficult times. But then for me, the best time was when he went back to Minnesota again. I was ecstatic then. It was just the best way for him to end his career, and for me, collecting-wise, all of a sudden all these new cards flooded in. We know how much Panini floods the market, and that actually suited me, and it kind of still does. And all of a sudden it took off again. I sort of got 25 cards, and last year I got 34, which was amazing for me. This year it's been pretty slow going as I slowly try and get to 300, which I've been sort of aiming for some time now. I'm going to have 5 to go, but it feels like every card is about 5 cards.
Right.
It's taken a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm big on math and numbers, and I'm just thinking from your perspective, each one is just gonna get harder. You own all of them, so you can't find any more if you already have them all.
Well, I mean, I'm the same. A while ago I made a checklist of all the cards that could possibly be numbered to 21. So obviously you take out base, you take out a lot of parallels. Cards numbered to 10 I can't collect. It has to be 50, 21, 100, and there's about 1,600, about 1,600, or just under that. And I keep the list updated so that I know how many are there, and I'm at about 18%. So of all his cards that are numbered 21 or more, I've got about 18% of them. And autographs-wise, I've got 29 Garnett autos that are 21 or something, and there's 150 of those. Obviously, he's not autographing anything else, so at the moment, and so that number's not changing. I'm hoping to sort of pick up a 30th auto, so that I can have a 5th or 20%. That'd be a nice, comfy number.
20% of any market, dude. That's incredibly impressive. I mean, I've seen a lot of collections on Instagram, and I've seen a lot of stuff, and I still always think yours is just the most individually impressive based on just physics and math, and the amount of time you've had to put in to get that many cards you should be very proud. It's very impressive.
Thanks very much. It's kind of you to say. I'll tell you something too. Collecting down where I do, where I live, can get lonely. I've only ever met one collector in person, and that is Patrick, the guy who I started it all with, and he came down a couple of years back and stayed with us, which was fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a fantastic time, and my wife, who cares nothing for cards, and his new wife, who didn't really either. They got to see how ridiculously passionate we were. As far as I know, I have the most jersey numbered cards that a basketball collector has. I don't know whether it may not actually be the case, but I haven't discovered anyone else with more. Patrick he sort of narrowed his collection down to collecting number 2 LJ cards, and he has well over 250 as well. And so it was great just to sit there and be the same two idiots that are doing the same idiotic thing.
And it's it's gonna be a lot easier for him. He's got more cards to choose from, having a lower number,
That's,
right?
yeah, you did right. That does have a wee impact for what it's worth. Yeah, number two, he's got two of fives, two of tens, and stuff like that. But
Maybe I should
yeah,
go
that's
for it with Penny Hardaway's got every card. He's
absolutely, yeah. But you'll have a whole lot of one-on-ones you'd have to chase down, wouldn't you?
I honestly can tell you, I think I have zero. I'm not even joking. I don't think I have a single one of whatever card. I don't think I have one.
No, well, you know for a fact I don't. So I I did get, just for the sake of it, I remember buying a printing plate. Stadium Club put out some printing plates about 2006 and 7, and I bought one just because I wanted to have one. And just the same as, whenever I do that, it sits with me for sort of a month. Then there might be a really nice 21 card shows up, and I quickly sell it. Quickly sell it and do my best to sort of survive off the money, if you know what I mean, rather than having to use a credit card. So, my wife, I'm very lucky that my wife runs the finances in our house, and she knows that's a passion of mine, and I don't spend too much money on anything else. So I just got to sort of tap her on the shoulder and say, oh, there's a card I'd like, and it's probably going to cost about $50. Is that okay? Yeah, okay then, yeah. So we don't argue about it too much.
Well, if you really get stuck, I have an idea. You could do like 2 out of 10, 2, 1 in the middle, or you could do like 12 out of 100. You got the 2, 1 in the middle. If you're really like stuck.
Well, in those barren years when he was playing in Boston and the Nets, I looked at a lot of different things. Like my mate Patrick, he was collecting cards with Larry Johnson in the background and stuff like that. Because it was even worse for him until LJ sort of signed a bit of stuff and Panini put out some cards. It was like a wasteland for him too. So, yeah, we kept ourselves busy trying to do weird stuff like that, but it was never the same. Never the same.
So why don't you talk about being an overseas collector, especially, bringing in as much volume as you do? How does that go, and what does that look like for someone that's so far away? How do you deal with it?
Well, I guess there's sort of two aspects to it. Chasing down such a small market, I'm very proactive on auction sites or anywhere online that I can look that's a bit different to eBay for cards. I've got a pile of cards here I'm going to show a bit later on, and I was just looking at them, and I've got cards there from probably about 8 different countries. So I guess American collectors, generally speaking, collect cards from America. That's changing now because the world's, becoming way more accessible, and collectors from around the world are as well. But I, from the get-go, had cards, collectors and friends from Australia, obviously America, but I made contacts all around the world. There were some French collectors. KG is very popular in France and in Asia, and so I'd sort of get online, make friendships there, and that helped me collect. The other aspect of it is actually getting the cards to you. That's not easy. It was quite easy for a start, but as eBay changed their policies to sort of protect sellers, it became more expensive. And so when it got to the stage where it was going to cost $23 to send a card here to New Zealand, we just had to change. Collectors overseas had to change the way they do things. And so luckily, Check Out My Cards and another site called My Mailbox, they gave you sort of private boxes that you could send cards to. Mm-hmm. And also Patrick helped me out a lot. That if they wouldn't send over, a seller wouldn't send overseas, I'd get a card sent to him and he'd send it to me. So we're very fortunate, I think. Collectors from Australia and New Zealand generally have a good guy somewhere in America who's helping us out, which is fantastic, really. Having said that, I think I said to you on Insta when we were messaging one time, 290 cards, I'd be averaging probably $7 or $8 a card minimum. You're looking at, $2,500 I've probably spent on just getting cards to New Zealand, which when you add it up makes me sick. but it's been worth it. I still love it, and still a passion. So that's just part of the process, I guess. Being so isolated physically, that card store I was telling you about, that closed down probably about 1998. It didn't last long, unfortunately. It went under. And so from there, that period on, I was pretty much online. I think I was on Hobby Kings from 2006 when that started. I was part of that community, a very active member of it, really enjoyed it. As I mentioned earlier, Ozcard Trader was a great site, still works pretty well there too. I'm not on there as much as perhaps I should be these days, but and Blowout was the Wild West. I remember Hobby Kings was sort of heavily moderated, and that suited me. It didn't worry me any being over here. I wasn't sort of involved in anything that was happening there, other than just enjoying cards and talking about the NBA. But then Blowout really had not a lot of moderation, but that sort of, when Hobby King sort of quietened down, I went over there, and now the same thing happens there. It's great. I really enjoy it. I'm on there every day, just commenting on people's cards and enjoying the threads, especially the threads that have come out there lately. It's been fantastic.
Nice.
So yeah, you're isolated physically, but it's really, your collecting's online.
Sure. So why don't you start diving through some of these cards and telling some stories? You've got like a ton of experience in the hobby, so I would imagine you've got some pretty cool stories. So I'll let you just take over and show us what you got.
Okay, yeah. I just wanted to show, I want to talk about photos first, if that's all right, because that's a bugbear of mine.
Yeah, do it.
I've got a couple of cards here, just base cards that I've kept because I love them. Not KG cards. People will know this card. It's probably my favourite Jordan card. And the other day, I can't remember who had a buyback of it, which just, that was fantastic to see that. Beautiful set, beautiful photo. This is my other one.
Lift it up a little higher.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Perfect.
Latrell Sprewell, just a nasty, nasty photo. Yeah. It's the sort of thing as a player you wanted to be able to do, but you never could.
Well, unlike your son's, little Tykes hoop, you could.
Yeah, we'll see, eh? So let's share some KG stories. As I said, I've got quite a few cards sort of laid out here, and they come from different countries around the world. I'll start with some 90s stuff because I know you like that.
Yes.
You have KG's Slam Bams card. Now, I'm going to tell some stories about some great collectors. I've always been very lucky collecting KG, and we sort of, early on, I've made sure that I maintained good friendships with Garnett collectors around the world. That was the best way, to enjoy the hobby, really. To just, the second best thing to owning cards is for me to seeing fantastic cards, and so the owner of this card was online. His name was Kobe Doc. He was a French collector called Matthew, and we chat online on Facebook every now and then, but we've known each other probably 10 years. And he had 3 21 cards. He had the Slam Bams. He had a Dwight Howard dual auto from Howard's rookie year, and he also had a team finest red refractor, which was numbered to 50. And so we eventually struck deals for 2 of those. He went out of collecting for a while. He had the best Garnett collection that I've seen. It had all the essential credentials, all the stuff that you would want from the 90s, and he didn't stop. He went all the way through the early 2000s and carried on right through the Celtics years. It was an amazing collection, which he sort of sold off and then regretted it. But I got lucky because he sold those 2 cards to me. So that was from France. Here's another 90s card, the Topps Apparitions Refractor. I got this from a great bloke, Vito, from the Philippines. We struck a deal for it. He sort of knew my passion, and when we sort of became friends online, he sold me that card, which was great. Beautiful card. It's actually my only Topps Chrome number 21 card.
Wow.
Just one of those, you end up with piles of this and not much of that, and you have no control over what's going to show up. I've managed to get about 10 or 11 exquisite cards, but only one Topps Chrome.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's just the way it goes. I don't know whether you can see that one very well. That's KG's Warp Tech, jersey numbered 21 or 25. The numbering's pretty small there.
That one's nuts, dude. That's a great one.
This was just sheer luck. I don't know whether back at message boards, whether anyone who's watching this sort of goes on there, but I didn't really. It was sort of a difficult place to operate, I felt. But I looked at a thread one day, and a guy had opened a box of Skybox Apex, and he'd pulled that card. And I always remember these moments. So this guy's called Dave. He was called the Nash Collector, and We got messaging there, and he just gave me the most amazing deal. I'm not going to tell you what he sold it to me for because it's embarrassing, but that card is it'd be it'd be one of the top 5. If I ever sold it, which there are no plans to, it would make me the most money. I think I've seen one other one in the time I've been collecting. Black Crow. The collector Black Crow has a lot of those. He's nearly put the whole set together. Amazing collection, that guy.
I was talking to him today, actually.
Oh, yeah. Just sensational stuff.
Yep.
This card is from 98-99 SPX, which was a fantastic set.
Mm-hmm.
KG had three cards in the set, and of course all the parallels that went with it. This was the hardest parallel, and a Norwegian collector pulled this. He's called Mr. Finley, goes by the name Mr. Finley, and he's active on Blowout. Really good guy. And so we worked a deal. It took a long time. He was chasing a lot of sets, and so he said to me, "You can have it. You go and find me all these cards." It took me months. He was putting together a great autograph set, and Patrick helped me. I think I ended up getting about 6 autograph cards. Had to be pretty patient with that one. So Patrick collected them in America. He sent them to me. I sent them to Norway.
Right.
So it was a long-term thing, but I think this card was my 100th jersey numbered card.
Nice.
So it just so happened that milestone cards like that, it turned out to be a pretty good one.
Interesting.
Yeah. Here's a fun one.
Yes.
This is from 05-06. The limited logos, 21 of 50. There's a guy called Eric who was an American collector, and he collected Garnett pretty solid. He had a fantastic collection, but he also just loved those limited logos cards, and he had, I think, 11 or 12 of KG's cards from that set, and he just collected them, hoarded them really. And with what I do, there's sometimes where you just go, "Oh, that guy's got that card. It's a fantastic card. I'm never going to get that." But who cares? It was great knowing where they were. A friend of mine, Spinotron, who is a fantastic collector. He's the same. He's got 3 or 4 cards that are just brilliant Garnett jersey numbered cards, and I'm really happy just to be able to see them.
Right, sure.
I'm never going to get them, and that's all good. But anyway, one day Eric had sort of gone off the scene, and he came back on and decided he was going to sell all his limited logos. So I sort of sidled up to him fairly quietly and said, "Oh, what about number 21 there? Do you think any chance that I'll be able to get that?" And he said, "Yeah, absolutely." He gave me a great deal on it. He put a lot of the other ones on eBay, and they sold for really more than he sold me this one for. He knew sort of my funds were fairly restricted, and if you put it on eBay, he could have made some more money. So I'm really grateful for that. He sent it off to me, and it never arrived. Every collector will know when a card's late, it's not a nice feeling. This was the most I'd spent on a card ever. I think it was about 2010 or 11 that we made this deal, and it just didn't show up. So I went out to them. We didn't spend any money on getting on a courier on couriering it because we knew each other, we trusted each other, and it just didn't show up. It sort of usually 7 to 10 days it takes from America to New Zealand, and after 3 weeks, I was getting pretty pissed off every time I got the mailbox in there. So we got back in touch, and luckily, of course, because we were friends, there was never going to be any issues with, falling out or anything like that. But I remember after 4 weeks, we basically said, right, well, it's not here tomorrow. I'll pay you back the money. And I said, yeah, okay, then this sucks, sort of thing. But then the next day it arrived, and it had been sent from USPS to Ecuador. So luckily, and he'd written my address absolutely perfectly, but it was just a situation where I can't explain it. It went to Ecuador, and the Ecuadorian Postal Service, God, souls, sent it to me in New Zealand, and it showed up. And I was ecstatic.
Wow.
Beautiful card. And still, just one of those memories that I'll never forget because it was one of those things.
Just made a stop in Ecuador.
Yeah, and it just took a whole month to get here, but you value those moments a bit more, I guess, because of the hardships. Right.
All right, man. This was great. Thanks for showing all these cards, and still so impressive, man. I'm almost out of words of how just How many, like, I have a hard time finding a lot of those 90s cards, just one copy,
Yeah,
let alone the freaking jersey number. That's crazy.
yeah, it's not easy. Actually, the funny thing, last year was just a sensational year for me. I picked up some amazing cards. It sort of wasn't that long ago. I had about 5 or 6 90s 21 cards, and now I have 17. Some of them are like college cards, some really sort of wacky stuff, but I love those cards too. But to me, I just yeah, every one, even if I get it for $12, like I got one last week, they're very very valuable to me as I sort of try and reach that 300. I think after I get to 300, I'm not worried about carrying on, but I get the feeling I probably will.
You'll hit
I
that
might, I might
other,
look.
you'll hit that
Sorry.
milestone, or you'll hit some story that keeps you going, right?
Probably, yeah. It could be a situation where I'll keep looking on eBay and if they keep popping up, I might struggle not to have a go at them. So
Well, I hope this video gets you over the hump, honestly. Like, I'm hoping people that have the cards right now are just gonna see this and send them your way.
that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
So this is my plea to everyone out there that has Kevin Garnett 21s. Let's
Yeah,
get him to Al.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm locked and loaded. I'm lucky enough to have a bit of some funds at the moment, and so if anyone does have one, uh, yeah, I'll be able to do a good deal for them.
And I'll put your Instagram and blowout in the video description just so we can get everyone to find you.
Good man. Thanks very much.
Well, thanks a lot, Al. This was great. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, cheers. See you, Josh.
See ya.